Here's today's In Touch devotion.
Today's scripture reading begins in verse 6 of Hebrews chapter 11. And without faith it is impossible to please Him. For he who comes to God must believe that He is, and that He is a rewarder of those who seek Him. By faith Noah, being warned by God about things not yet seen, in reverence prepared an ark for the salvation of his household, by which he condemned the world, and became an heir of the righteousness which is according to faith. By faith Abraham, when he was called, obeyed, by going out to a place which he was to receive for an inheritance. And he went out, not knowing where he was going. By faith he lived as an alien in the land of promise, as in a foreign land, dwelling in tents with Isaac and Jacob, fellow heirs of the same promise. For he was looking for the city which has foundations, whose architect and builder is God. By faith, even Sarah herself received ability to conceive even beyond the proper time of life, since she considered him faithful who had promised. Therefore there was born, even of one man, and him as good as dead at that, as many descendants as the stars of heaven in number, and innumerable as the sand which is by the seashore. All these died in faith, without receiving the promises. But having seen them, and having welcomed them from a distance, and having confessed that they were strangers and exiles on the earth. For those who say such things make it clear that they are seeking a country of their own. And indeed, if they had been thinking of that country from which they went out, they would have had opportunity to return. But as it is, they desire a better country, that is, a heavenly one. Therefore, God is not ashamed to be called their God, for He has prepared a city for them.
When I was a young boy, says Dr. Stanley, my mother let me plant some seeds in her garden. Although she explained that the plants would take time to appear, when nothing happened after several days, I decided to dig them up to check for progress. I found no plants, but what's worse, I also ruined the possibility of ever seeing any. Hebrews chapter 11 records examples of people who, by faith, waited for what God promised, even when it wasn't visible. Noah continued building an ark, despite the many intervening years until the predicted flood. Abraham looked forward to the land God promised, though the fulfillment did not take place during his lifetime. Sarai had to wait until she was well beyond childbearing age before God finally gave her the son He'd promised. If we expect God to work according to our timetable, we're likely to face disappointment. The people mentioned in Hebrews had to wait many years. In fact, some of the promises made to them won't be fulfilled until after Christ returns. The Lord doesn't work like a gumball machine. Those of us who are believers can't cash in a promise and assume the fulfillment will pop out. Ours is a long-term walk by faith.